Joey, you're our ladder man. Take it away. What do you think about the scenario we see ahead of us?
Well, the big winners today clearly were Fremantle. They now give themselves a 2-game buffer from the Western Bulldogs. Gold Coast, they're lost, but we know they've still got the game in hand. Collingwood, no absolute certainty now to finish on top. After Richmond next week, they've got 3 of the top 8 teams to come up against. Adelaide are the team now really firming for a top 4 spot.
Could finish
potentially
top 2.
finish top 2, which will be massive, and we'll get to them in a moment. But for the teams on 48 points, here's sort of a rough, simple equation. You need to win You need to win 3 of your last 5 games and hope the Western Bulldogs drop 1 of their last 5, and then you'll be safe to be playing in the final. So win 3 of your last 5, and that's a big result for Fremantle because their next 3, West Coast, Carlton, Port Adelaide. The other teams, maybe particularly Hawks, have got a tougher run. Geelong, we think, are pretty safe. But that's the situation. Unless the Western Bulldogs win all 5, they'll still put pressure on those teams. Gold Coast need to win 4 of their last 6.
Yeah, well, the Dogs do play the Giants and Fremantle.
That's right. So if they knock off them...
sometimes it's better to play those teams around you than it is to play the also-rans, despite banking the 4 points. But, see, it's an awful situation now for the Dogs, isn't it? Like, it's come at the wrong time.
It has.
Results have gone against them, but that's your lot. You've got to live in it.
And 4 weeks ago, we were saying, it's not going to be that interesting. We know who the 8 are. Now it becomes really interesting with 5 to go.
Yeah, we knew it was the 9. It was always a matter of which is the team that's going to miss out. And now all the work's the Dogs. They probably have to win all 5 games. As Kingy said, that includes beating the Giants and beating Fremantle to give themselves a chance. And all they need someone to really struggle and maybe go 2 and 3 on the run home.
Well, speaking of Fremantle, David King, your first crack.
Guts up at the G. Guts up, our man. Justin Longmuir got the job done, and it was a great game.
Yep,
it really was, and you have to handle so many things when you play Collingwood at the G. The cauldron of pressure, the noise of affirmation, as Alan Richardson once touched on with, does the umpiring go their way? Of course it does. They roar like mad when they do. But this is the 4th quarter. And this is why I'm bullish on their list, Joey. Everyone takes the negative. But when they play daring footy through the corridor, not that safe crap we've had to put up with for 2 years, they can score. They can play some high-level footy. I'm rapt that Sarong was able to do what he did again today. His 4th quarters over the last month or so, barring maybe 1, have been huge. That's an easy hit to Voss, who had some sort of day. 6 goals from Patrick Voss. No one would have, in their wildest dreams, thought that was coming. But this kick here from Banfield, who I think's an easy player to hate if you support Fremantle, to pull the trigger back into the corridor, to back to Hayden Young and welcome back Hayden Young. He's the wild card. We've talked a lot about him. Yep. So I love when they play with bravery like that. But it's not just me that loves it, right? The competition study Fremantle. Just before you get your comment, just have a listen to what Craig McRae said after the game. And let's see if the footy world turns on Craig.
I know at quarter time you could argue that, 6 points down, whatever, but you guys watch us play, the pressure was there. We had a lot of good stuff. And saying all that, this shows how, in our eyes, we thought Fremantle were really, really good when they needed to. When they needed to get the job done, they really came hard. They play good brand of footy when they're up and going fast, isn't it? Like, maybe they should play a bit more of that at times. It's a good version of them.
And that is it in a nutshell. Yep. That is all we're saying. Now, some people want to take the absolute negative. I hate that other brand of footy. I think that when they play with aggression, they've got talent. I'll tell you what you won't hear this week. You won't hear, we're young and, we can't do this and we can't do that. They can play any mode you want to go into. And it probably, in a weird way, suited them that they were 16 points down. They had to go. They had to try and pierce Collingwood's forward press, which was awesome all day.
Well, they've now done this through the last 5 weeks, come from behind, which they haven't been able to do in previous years. So it's a sign of maturity. It's a sign of resilience and character with this group that they've had to roll the sleeves up, and you'll touch on Collingwood's pressure in a moment. But to withstand what they did today, Freo, when they were backs against the wall, a lot of D50, true character, and I think it's something that they can launch off now off the back of finding a way to win that game.
And one thing about the game, we were watching it upstairs, and Collingwood just sat off the kicker because they're like, we want you to kick it. And it was dare to be great, and Fremantle were daring enough to get it done. But Kingy, the pressure. Oh, yeah. So Craig McRae said he said, we all watched it, we brought the pressure. What did you think?
The Collingwood cauldron. They just come from everywhere to put you under the hammer, and it was brilliant to watch. And it's easy to say, Fremantle handled it. It was impossible to handle for the first 3 quarters. And it wasn't until they took on Corridor and took the game out of these sort of bubbles where the swarming effect of the Pies it was like a noose tightening around them. They just couldn't quite slip clear. Look at that pressure. It's just relentless. Minus 23 inside 50s. They're just numbers. When you look at it, you think, gee, how did you win this game? And through absolute bravery and some leadership and some steady heads down back, you're able to stay in the game and stay alive. But this year, it was a great spectacle and it's a great game. I don't think Craig McRae's losing any sleep, to be perfectly honest. He'd be wrapped with what he's got going with this group right now.
Yeah.
You can see their first quarter 220 season high, 206 first half season high. So it was a hectic game. It was a final at the G today.
It was the most forward 50 tackles by any team.
35.
35 equal
That's
most
phenomenal.
by what Collingwood laid there. There it is. It was an incredible performance. And to be honest, you're right, Fremantle didn't handle it, but I felt at least they didn't crumble with it. Like they had to withstand it and hold up and just give themselves a chance, which I thought was really positive. Interesting, Collingwood now, games decided by a kick or less. They've lost 3 of the last 4. So
before you leave Freo, so they hadn't scored on intercept across the halfback for the whole day, and then kicked 3 goals in the last quarter. And I keep talking about next year it being the best opportunity for this list. I think it's a year short to absolutely probably win the thing and be entrenched in the top 4. But surely they have to look at some dare. Surely the last couple of weeks gives them a fillip of confidence that they have to play to win the game rather than stay in the game for long periods, because that's what the best are doing.
Well, I spoke to you during the game. I said, Collingwood, big moment game. And Fremantle took the moment from Collingwood today. So they've got to take the confidence to go, well, this is the blueprint, now the purple print of how it's going to win.
Yeah.
But Fremantle, just on them, Joey, in terms of their clearance game, so we're talking about absorbing the pressure and taking the game on. What did you see in terms of clearance?
Well, it was just a really interesting battle because they had to make a decision because their clearance game had been poor for the last 3 or 4 weeks, except for the fourth quarters that had got them out of trouble. But they had to make a call in this game. Do we tag Nick Dacos and sort of compromise our best asset, which is our clearance game, or do we just trust our mids to get to work? And I thought it was fascinating that they didn't send Wagner to Nick Dacos, and Nick Dacos was running around getting a lot of ball in the first half, but in particular they backed themselves in the midfield to get the job done. So 4 of their 7 goals in the first half were from clearance. They were winning that battle. Now, Collingwood did a great job towards the back end of the game, but it was just fascinating that they backed themselves in, King, and said, no, we're going to trust our guys. We've got the 2 rucks. Jackson playing as a mid was able to get his hands on it. They didn't sort of succumb to tagging Nick Dacos and stayed composed, even though he was winning a lot of footy. And in the end, it was the right decision by the coach, so well done.
He's had 43. Like, at what
I know.
There is a point where you say, are we doing the right thing here? All the numbers, when you look at them, you say, that's an anomaly, that's an anomaly.
Yeah.
Gee, that's a test of the coach's box and the will of Justin. And we're praising him, don't get me wrong.
They would have wrestled with it the whole game.
They would have been going, he's up to 35 now he's at 40. It would have been a test of wills.
Yeah, but I don't think it was a Nick Dacos absolute dominant 43.
No, he was part of the problem.
He was, yeah, that's right. But they held their nerve, and in the end, now once again they've grinded down teams, which has been a consistent theme over the last sort of 4 to 5 weeks. So impressive.
And one man who loves the celebration, sometimes it's 2 goals, 3 goals. Patrick Voss had 6 opportunities today to just show his celebrations, Kingy. Well, he was very good.
He was. And any time that they could get the ball, particularly early, bypassing the extra, the +1 for Collingwood, and off clearance when they were 6v6, he ran rings around Darcy Moore. He really did, and he was on his bike, he was up, he was alert, he was charging at the ball carrier, and he provided such a good target. Look at that for a focal point. Like, unbelievable. And then they made the change. In the end, it was Maynard on him late, but he was just terrific. And I think it's a good sign for your team when you can have someone bob up like this that's not... It doesn't have to be Tracy. It had to be Jackson late, but it doesn't have to be. So I just think it was a great performance by the forward 6, who didn't get a lot of opportunities, just the 40 inside 50s. So they had to make hay when it come in, and Patrick Voss, credit to you.
Yeah, some good kicks, but also, I mean, Darcy Moore hasn't been beaten like that for about 10 or 11 weeks. He'd only had 17 goals kicked on him in 15 games this year. He'd been a real pillar back there in defence, but Paddy Voss got the chocolates in a big way.
And the setup, Kingy, for the Pies.
Yeah. So there it is there. You can see they're always holding that loose man off. It's generally in a pretty aggressive position, Joey. So if you could get it past there, then you still got to do it one-on-one, right? You still got to beat your nominal opponent. It's just interesting. It hasn't really been Amos. I expected this role to be Jai Amos, and I think Jai's probably got to look at Patrick's video and say, why isn't that me? Why aren't I the one charging at the ball carrier or getting free? Because look how alert he is. Look how on the move. Like, that's difficult to match up on if you're a fullback, even if you want to take dominant position. Look, he's in the front here, he wants to hold, and then just slips around him and goes. I just love his commitment to the lead. And you've played that position more than anyone. He's assessed the time to go and boom.
And goes. Pulls the trigger, shows the speed and does it. They're set up, though, the Pies. Like, they're no dummies in terms of structure. So to find your way through and think your way through it from a Fremantle perspective takes a little bit of an ounce.
Well, just when we see them often go slow and long and not so much wide, but they go aggressive. So this ball, we talked about how aggressive they are, direct line to goal at the moment. And we think, gee, they're going to score. But have a look in behind. This is what I really like. They're always getting set up. So if they do turn that ball over, and this is why it was so hard for Fremantle to get through for the first three quarters, because they just are so organised, so set. And when you combine that with 35 inside 50 tackles or forward 50 tackles, you are going to get repeat opportunities. And they had 38 intercepts in their forward half, like a massive number. So all the numbers, in the end, the numbers don't mean a lot, because some you can steal out and say they look like a Collingwood win, and some are a Fremantle win. But in the end, it come down to moments late, and Fremantle were too good.
Two good teams.
And it's a good little cider for the competition too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The way they played Collingwood.
Hope they play again.
Oh, how good would it be?
I think we might play that Craig McRae press conference.
I love that, Graham. You guys watch it. They got the pressure and they just took it on.